These days, there are many Linux noobs, however you want to call it, that have no idea the role that Ubuntu played in the adoption of the Linux desktop as we know it today. And in fact, we owe a great deal of gratitude to the whole Ubuntu movement. I'm going to talk about a history that isn't very well known, or at least it's not very accurately known, and that is basically the rise and fall of Ubuntu's big bet. A lot of new users have no idea how Linux worked 10 or 15 years ago and don't understand the role that Ubuntu played in the adoption of the Linux desktop for many users. And so, naturally, a lot of people, even the people who were using Ubuntu a decade ago or even a little further back, they probably only have about half the history right. It all goes back to the early 2000s when Mark Shuttleworth had a small fortune and he invested it largely into the Linux desktop. And he hired a bunch of developers, and for a couple of years, they developed, a modern desktop experience and a new installer that installed Ubuntu very easily. In 2004 was their first release, and soon after they had adopted the GNOME 2 desktop, and it was something to behold. Shortly afterwards, there were videos on Ubuntu. Every time there was a new version, everybody and their dog are making Arch Linux videos today, and that's how Ubuntu was 15 years ago. I mean, it was the talk of the town. Every new release, people were checking out all of the new goodies that they included with the new release. Well, GNOME reaches the end of life with 2.32. That was somewhere around 2010-ish, 11. And GNOME 3 launches with this completely different UX that everyone hated, including myself. And there was a lot of community backlash because there was kind of a loss of the traditional desktop workflow. There was just this real heavy abstraction, and there's just fewer power user features. And then Canonical introduced Unity 7 in Ubuntu 11.04. Unity was seen as opinionated, but it was usable. It was definitely more productive than, say, the early GNOME shell or something like that. And it was just a sign that Ubuntu was willing to lead and not to follow. However, there were some problems with the Unity 7 desktop. And one of the things that I think most people remember was the never-ending crash dialog. Sorry, an internal error occurred. It basically became a joke, but it was also symbolic of this really complex desktop stack thingy. Compiz plus Unity plus dbus was kind of fragile. It just wasn't really happening too much. And it reflected probably a deeper issue, which is desktops becoming distributed systems, and debugging became overly complicated, at least for that desktop. And Unity 7 was around for a couple of years, and then there was the talk of Unity 8, and that it would come with the Mirror Compositor, and it was just this dream of a system. It basically was touch first, and so everyone was really excited to see this new display server work, and one user interface across phone, tablet, desktop, and TV. Also, I would be remiss not to mention the Ubuntu Edge crowdfunding, where they really wanted to combine the desktop with the phone and come out with this really robust phone. And they had a target of $32 million. They raised $12.8 million, which of course was the largest failed crowdfunding campaign ever. I know, I bought a phone, and of course they returned the money when they didn't meet the crowdfunding threshold. There had been other Ubuntu phones like Meizu with, I guess, real hardware, but no real ecosystem. I don't know. There was like an app gap, I suppose, or I don't know, like there just didn't have much market relevance, and the Convergence never reached a mainstream desktop, and this is where it all tumbles down. Ubuntu 17.10. Mark Shuttleworth announced Unity 8 is canceled. Mir would be abandoned. Well, kind of. And GNOME would become the default desktop in Ubuntu again. This was a clear messaging failure on all levels. Like, I didn't get why they went back to GNOME. I was so infuriated. I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't using Ubuntu at the time, but I just remember feeling kind of betrayed as a user, as a fan of the Unity 7 desktop. And here's what happened, though. And this is probably the story that never gets told, was that Canonical assumed Wayland's victory was obvious to everyone who was a Linux user. Well, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So what users saw was a bunch of wasted years of development and a bunch of broken promises. You were promising us Unity 8 for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you just cut and run. This resulted in such a loss of trust across the community, and there was just a general feeling of frustration. And of course, Mir does not replace Wayland. It was basically repurposed as a Wayland compositor framework that works in embedded systems, kiosks, IoT systems or devices. And it definitely had a symbolic outcome. Canonical stopped fighting standards, and they literally became the consumer, not a driver. So now we're going to just move on to snapbacks. Ubuntu definitely lost its identity as a Linux innovator. Snaps became the default. And a good example of this is when you force Firefox, the browser, to be installed through Snapbacks instead of giving you a choice whether or not you wanted it installed from apt or Snapbacks, or however you wanted it to be installed. And Snapd, of course, is, well, impossible to remove. At least I haven't figured out how to remove it. And it has a closed central store. And there's just been a perception shift, I guess, that in the beginning it was a community distro, but now it's just like this corporate platform that pretty much everybody hates. And it's obvious they chose convenience over user autonomy. That's not something I want to use. Then there is the immutable desktop that no one asked for in 2023. Canonical introduced Ubuntu Core Desktop. It was basically an immutable variant. It was based on snap-only, read-only root file system, marketed as modern, secure, and enterprise-ready. Technically, it had I guess you could say it had similar goals to maybe like Fedora Silverblue or Universal Blue's releases of Aurora Bluefin. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but it's not really important. The only thing is that they kind of stumbled upon a good idea, atomic desktops, but they implemented it with the same centralized mindset, the same vertical control, same corporate instincts that killed Unity, which is Ubuntu's immutable desktop. I guess kind of exists. It's since been discontinued and nobody actually used it anyway. And Universal Blue is quietly building this future in the public. Ubuntu's rise and fall is indicative of a few things, but the main thing is that I think Ubuntu tried to over-leverage itself, tried to control the desktop, the display server, the application ecosystem, some of the hardware convergence, but it failed because of just how much vertical integration it had, and there just really wasn't much of a community buy-in. The result was Wayland won, GNOME returned, Ubuntu just became another downstream distro, and they also just went to the server space. And I just have to say, just for a pithy quote, Ubuntu didn't just lose Unity, it lost the right to define what Linux desktop even means to anyone anymore. What do you think? Am I too harsh on Canonical? Leave me a comment in the section below. What do you think was the major factors in their rise and fall? Let me know. If you would like to watch a video about the worst flaw in Linux, just go ahead and check that video out right there. I'd like to thank these wonderful people right here. These are my highest tier patrons. Without their support, this video would not be possible. Peace, guys.